Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Pisani. This is it is November 16th webinar. We're going to talk tonight about market update overall and institutional flow. No, Simon, that's wrong. No, my daughter does help me cook. So welcome everybody tonight. My daughter does help me cook, but she's only 19. She's a great sous chef. All right. So if you guys need to get a hold of me, it's Mike at alphashark.com, or on Twitter if you're not following me at OptionsMike. I throw a bunch of stuff out there all the time, stuff you can catch on and see. And you can follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and when I go live, which I do periodically throughout the day on some days, and more often when there's markets are in turmoil, you guys will be notified that I'm going up and live and see all my free videos. So follow along. All right. So tonight, really, I want to talk to you guys just really about the overall markets and the flow. And then I really want to go into your charts because I think that's where you're going to get the most value from being here tonight. Talking about things at this point, markets are what they are. And honestly, every dip gets bought. And we proved that the last 2 days. All right, risk disclaimer. Day trading, short-term trading, options trading, futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They generally are not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trading experience, and or a low tolerance for risk. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice, and we cannot be sued for loss of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker or RIA for execution margin or other capital requirements. Everyone watching this presentation adheres to all disclaimers from optionshacker.com, alphashark.com, and me, Mike Pisani. Good, we got that out of the way. Jerry, you're right about Dennis Cartman. Every time they roll him out, I giggle. I'm like, go long, go long. And they just keep rolling him out. They just don't care. All right, so tonight, sentiment, go over the beginning charts. We'll go over a couple of setups that I like from the last week. Not a great week for flow. I'm going to give you go over my service offering, and then it's your charts for the rest of the night, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time tonight, guys, because I got to think you guys want to look at charts and see what's going on here in this market. So, are you ready for this? 5-day dip was bought. We had 5 gap downs in a row, and today we gapped up. Change of character in the market. And what did we do today? We gapped and just grinded higher all day long. It was a gap and go. Complete change in character in 24 hours from everybody else out there thinking the world was going to fall apart to a change in the market. How quick that happens. It's amazing. So I did the last webinar for you guys was about 2 weeks ago on the 2nd. And the fear and greed index was up around 76. Look how far we've come down since then. Triassic trend line. There you go, Jerry. Look at how far we've come down. Look at how bearish people got how quickly. People are so quick right now to say the world's going to end. This is it. This is the market pullback. Now, people who are in my service and they know me or in the chat room with us, the Alpha Shark, I wasn't bullish the last couple of days, but I wasn't selling anything I had. And yesterday I started buying things pretty heavily. There's a difference. This market has given us no reason to be bearish yet. But when we go into a situation like we did the last 5 days, I get careful, cautious. I was taking trades. I was making some cash, but I wasn't leaving much on. I certainly wasn't taking big risk, but there were some things I've been doing. So sentiment went from overly bullish to very bearish within 2 weeks. Gotta love that. When we look at StockTwit sentiment, same thing. SPY was up over 60% when I did this 2 weeks ago. Now it's down at 53%, which is a big increase in the last day. The Qs are only at 61%. And the IWM, by the way, which I think they're trying to rotate into here, is only at 48%. So there is a lot of negative sentiment out there that gives us a lot of room to run these things back up again. And that's what I love when I look at things. So, guys, I love the oscillators. Yesterday, I pointed out to everybody the NIMOT this morning, I think actually was negative 160, getting really close to an area we get an extreme oversold reading. and we never even got there. Look at that reversal all the way to plus 70, plenty of room to run. We can run all the way to plus 200 if this market wants to scream, or even higher. I've seen this thing go over 300, but that's when I usually run for cover. But right now, oscillators are saying rally on, room to run, no worries here. The NYMOT is the New York Stock Exchange. The NAMOT is the NASDAQ. This went from negative 120 all the way up to plus 20 today. Nice quick run there as well. The NASDAQ, which had been lagging for a good part of the last couple months, has been leading us again. And I don't know about you guys, but I like it when the NASDAQ leads, because when the beta names are leading, that's when I'm usually in big play. And those are the names I like to trade. VIX. For the last week and a half, we've had this rising channel, right? We see a series of higher lows, and every time it came up, but every day it would sell off again into the close. And look at yesterday's reversal and look at this today. Back to comedy. VIX has just been blown up. We saw some big put buyers on the UVXY yesterday. I think there was a $400 and something thousand put buyer on the UVXY that I caught yesterday. Then a bunch of put buyers on the VXX. And that to me was one of the signals that we're about to rally. Because when these guys come in for this, they're usually correct. Yesterday, November 24th, 20 puts swept $440,000 of them yesterday. That was in the middle of the day yesterday on UVXY. So when I see that, I usually know that the market is about to turn, because these guys are very rarely really wrong on these things. So the VIX is telling us nothing really to worry about. The Qs, look at that. Finally broke the 8-day on Tuesday. Yesterday tagged the 21-day, and now all the way back to an all-new time high. What a move, right? What a huge move in the Qs, right back up. And the funny thing is, Apple's not participating. What do you think is going to happen when Apple starts to participate? Renato, save them. When we get done with the presentation, we'll go into your slides, and then you can ask anything you want, and I'll be happy to go over all of your stock charts at that point. So if Apple starts to participate, Facebook, some of these other names, we really see some of these names, they start to rotate in, this thing will just explode at this point. And so far, we haven't seen that really into Apple yet. SPY, the SPX, the cash index, broke through everything, was looking bearish. Concerning was because, it lost the 8-day last week, and it came resistance. It couldn't get back above it for these couple sessions in here. For 4 sessions, the 8-day resistance. Yesterday, we broke below the 21-day, came back to it, couldn't get back above it, and then today gapped and gone, right? Gapped right back up to the 21-day and took off through the 8-day. And now we're just a stone throw again from all-time high here as well. When you see the sectors that have been trailing come back strong, like the banks, right? The banks had been in a little bit of a mini sell-off. You can't stay on the sidelines on these things. You can't be bearish on these things when you see the leading sectors come back to life. You have to just take the action for what it is. The IWM, which we've been watching, it had broken that channel and had broken through the 50-day. What an engulfing candle today, guys. Just took back everything in one single shot. I've seen a lot of small buying in small cap names, especially small cap bio. Names you wouldn't normally see. In fact, one of the things I was really pointing out today a couple times on my service was that names that I never see action in, we're seeing action today. This tells me they're rotating into small caps. So it's something to watch, because if this is going to rotate back in, we could get another big move like we had earlier, about 3 months ago. The quick move would be back up to the all-time high, which is around 150.50, and then see if it can bust through there. And that wouldn't take all that much here for that to get going to there. So keep an eye on the IWM. Might be some place to put a little bit of money in, or some of the small caps. Or if you like it, you can play some of the leveraged ETFs on the IWM. I think it's a TNA or TZA. One's the bear, one's the bull. I think it's TNA is the bull. So keep an eye on them. So everybody always says, what do I have open? What's going on? So my hedge that I've had on since, August, early August, It's gonna God thing. That's a good typo, Michael. It's gonna expire tomorrow, worthless, and that is a good thing. I do want it to expire worthless. That was the point of the hedge. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. When we did have some corrective activity, my count didn't move. I will probably go get another hedge at this point out into the March timeframe in the next day or so. I bought back, update on ILG. ILG, I have the March 31 calls. I sold them the day before earnings for a nice profit. On earnings day, it was down. I bought them back cheaper than I had bought them originally, and now I'm holding them because it's a buyout candidate with the big rumor that Marriott is trying to buy them, their timeshare. Common positions, not much change. I have BioMarin. I still have Twitter. I have TBT, NGD, Vail, Canth, and I added Bank of America yesterday. A nice size position to Bank of America. And to calls, I have no puts on my right now currently. I have swing positions on JP Morgan, January 100 calls, Goldman Sachs, January 260 calls. I'm sorry, JD I no longer have. Those are gone. Netflix, Jan 205 calls, CMG, December 300 calls, and Facebook 185 calls. So you guys can see I've added quite a bit on. Most of this came in yesterday. So I was pretty aggressive adding yesterday into this little pullback here. The only one that wasn't Netflix I added last Friday on that huge flow. There was big call spread and sweepers Friday into Netflix, and I jumped on board that. I actually had pretty heavy on Netflix going into yesterday. On Monday, I trimmed a good amount of my December calls. I had December 200s. Trimmed some more on Tuesday, and yesterday I dumped. Today I dumped the last of my December 200s, and now I just have my Jan 205s. Any questions so far, guys? You guys are awfully quiet. All right. So, as I said, I have not been impressed with the flow over the last week. It wasn't really telling me to go anywhere or anything to do. But here's a couple of things I've picked up on that I kind of like. So Electronic Arts, 3 days in a row now, they've been buying the hell out of this. It started 3 days ago. That would be on Tuesday, with a sweeper into the Feb 115 calls for 300K, followed by a block of 1.4 million a couple minutes later. Then we saw another split ticket into that, another 1.5 million into the Feb 115s. Yesterday, they grabbed the Jan 115s too to go with it for 470K. And then they came back in and they hit the Feb 115 calls again. And then they hit today the Feb 120 calls, $425,000 worth. So if you guys out there pay attention, what does EA have going on next week? Does anybody know besides me? Nope. Tell you what, I will give you 1 month free to my subscription if you guys can answer. The first person that answers it right. What's coming out next week? Nope. Star Wars. Renato, you win. Email me at mike@smartoptiontrading.com. I'll give you my email later on. I'll send it to you privately, and you get a free month. They have the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game coming out next week. So if you guys have not been paying attention to this game has got the gaming community up in arms. Not only are they going to have to pay big money for it, I think it's like 70 bucks or to $100. The only way to really play the game is to have to buy things with lots of microtransactions. There have been death threats against the developers who it's not their fault. So this is an interesting play, and this is a little risky play. And this is why I want to talk about this for a second. The call buying in this thing is off the charts. They're very rarely wrong when they come into this name like they're coming here. So what has me concerned is the gamers do not like what they're doing with this game, and I'm not sure they're going to respond well. So it's a risky play. Does that make sense here at this point? Do you guys understand what I'm saying to you here? It's a risky play, but they're rarely wrong. Look at the size of this. It's a swing. You definitely want to buy time with this. These guys are paying for the Christmas rush lunch. They're counting on the fact that people are going to be bored, and they're going to pay as much as they're going to complain. They're going to pay this anyway. Does that make sense? They're going to pay the transactions and just go with it. So if you guys like to swing, this is a great one to swing. You don't see flow like this very often. Renato, I just sent you a message. Send me an email there with your Twitter handle and your email address, and I'll take care of that for you. So this is one to watch. Big buying 3 days in a row on a chart that doesn't look fabulous is something certainly worth taking a look at. Well, that was the one thing, Jerry. That's the other thing. You notice the 3 days the stock hasn't really moved off the flow. So just be aware. I give you this one with hesitation. Oh, thank you're welcome. I gave you this one with a little hesitation, and I'm going to tell you that only because I know the gaming community. I like to play games, and I know it, and I know how upset they are. And if you go out and YouTube and just Google some of this stuff or Twitch, you'll see just how much bad press there is out on there on this one. Yeah, not that much, Jerry. This was strange. Like I know what you're saying. This wasn't type hedging stuff. This was somebody's making a big play into this, and I didn't see the hedging off that I normally would have seen at this. The stock just didn't move. I didn't see the tack on buying I usually would see. So usually when you see action like this, you see front running sweepers. They start coming in quicker in time, right? So instead of buying February's, they'll start buying December's and stuff like that. I, I believe the new product goes on next week, George. You'd have to Google that. I don't know that. I wasn't planning on buying it. They also have some other games coming out, but I mean, just take a look. So EA is an interesting name. So look at this thing. That if you're going to play it, it's the February 115s. Those are the ones to play. That's where all the open interest is. They could be, Jerry, but they'd have to buy a hell of a lot of stock to cover this. I don't think they did. The stock would be going up if they were buying that much. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. This was a strange one, but the 3 days of buying nonstop, it's got it. These were definitely bought. I did a lot of looking up. I spent a lot of time looking at these. These weren't sold to open. They were bought. So we'll see. All right. Wells Fargo Chase. So yesterday they bought the banks hard, right? That's why I'm along a lot of the banks here. Today they bought Wells Fargo. They've done it the last couple of days, and you can see they hit the January 55s. Yesterday 360,000, then 272,000, and then today they started coming in these little December sweeps, right? You see the December 55 calls, 286, then the weekly 5450 calls, and then the next week's 55 calls, 2,900 of them, and then December 29th 56 calls, 116K of them. Wells Fargo has been a laggard. The CFO or the CEO, one of them was speaking at a conference today. The call went very well. This is a name that if it wants to play catch up, it's got a lot of that bad press behind them now. Buffett's behind it. This thing could quickly run back up to highs of 56 and get above that. It's been consolidating and lagging the industry. This is a nice play to play on a catch-up bank where the options are not expensive and this thing can move. So keep an eye on this one, especially if Buffett was to come out and say he was going to buy more. That would be a huge catalyst. To go along with my bank theme, the buying on Bank of America, this is selective, what I've whittled down here. The amount of buying yesterday, I couldn't keep up. Oh, Renato, I mean, Jan 28th was insane yesterday, what they were doing into that one. And the December 29th, 27 calls was incredible amount. Then the January 29th calls as well. I mean, it was just nonstop. And today they decided to go and hit some more of these again and did some rolling out. And the last one I saw today was the Jan 27th calls again. They were rolling out of some of the tomorrow's expiration. Huge buying in Bank of America. I was actually trying to get into the options and I couldn't fill because they kept moving away from me. So I just said, screw it, I'm just buying the common. And I'll do that sometimes. So I just grabbed 1,000 shares and just said, that's it. Grab the common, just sit on it. So I like that. I like all the banks. These are two that have the best flow. JP Morgan had good flow as well. Um, Citi's had a little bit, not as much, and Goldman Sachs had some, but most of it was in the next 2 weeks, not as long term as I'd like to see there. So these are the two names that right now I like the best, the way they're being traded. Nice. So you can do a nice long lead play, Jerry. I like that. So look at those two. Bank of America, they've been buying this every dip. Off the 50-day is a great place for it. Now back above the moving averages. First half of tax reform got through the House today as expected. We got to wait at least a week now for the Senate. Honestly, I do not think that's going to be an easy one. I think that's going to take time. I still don't know how they bring these two together because the plans are so different, but we'll worry about that as we get closer. Like the banks, plus we're probably going to get a rate hike in December from the Fed to help us out here. So lots of good catalysts for the banks. Western Digital, I love this chart. So they're buying December 97 50 calls last week, 150K, and they kept coming for them, way out of the money. So it's finally starting to break loose. It's at the top of this long consolidation channel here. The one thing that has been holding this in check has been the Toshiba chip back and forth argument over that. If this thing ever gets free, it's going to take off. You see, yesterday they were buying the December 90 calls. It's got very little resistance. All-time highs are up around 95, and it can just blast through there quickly to 100 at this point. I like the chart. I like the consolidation. I like the consistent call buying. The only slight negative here is that you have the whole thing going back and forth with Toshiba. If that was to get settled, this thing will be gone. If they come out on Monday and say, we've agreed to a price on this, this thing's gone. They've been waiting for this forever, and they're starting to put more and more money behind it. So this is one I like. I like the chart a lot here. Micron. Talked about Micron 2 weeks ago. It had a nice move since then, and the call buying has not stopped. 3 days ago, Jan 2019, 60 calls, $1.4 million. April 45 calls, Jan 2019, 47 calls, December 44 calls, 20,000 of them bought in a block. Heh, why not? Next week's 48s times 8,300. Jan 42 calls, December 42 calls, December 45 calls, December 1st, 45.50. You guys get the idea. They've been buying this name over and over. There isn't a day that goes by that there's not some type of action in this name. This is not, it must have been Tepper. It is Tepper. I'm sure it is Tepper. He's coming in every, you know what Tepper was? I don't even have him on here, Renato. Tepper, there was some deep in the money buying. I want to say 20s, 20s and 15 and 19s this week on this. That was Tepper. He loves to do that. He loves to buy those deep in the money that acts like stock and just go with it. But this is not something I would just trade. I would just buy and hold. Either buy the stock or buy some of those long-term leaps, go out to 2019 and just hold on to them. They think this thing's going to go, and they're showing no stop of it yet. So I love this one. I've talked to you about this a couple times. Every time I tell you guys about it, the stock just higher the next time we talk about it. The call buying supports it. You guys have any questions on any of what I went over from the flow? Not a lot of ideas because honestly, I don't want to give you things that I didn't love or didn't think the setups on were great. I like these. Noel, puts in what? What put buying? There's been almost no put buying the last 2 days to this marketplace. They still buying puts on GE. There was some put buying on H&R Block, if I remember correctly there, because of the Amazon getting into it. We've seen selective put buying into names that are already beaten up, but very little. There's put buying and call buying on the SPY every day, HD. Yeah, April. I didn't see the April 60s today, Renato, on Micron. They might have been tied to stock. If they're tied to stock, I don't pick up on it. I don't report it. Does that make sense? I don't find that to be bullish. Oh, Weight Watchers. You can't go against Oprah. Weight Watchers. Yeah, I hear you. Um, I didn't catch Weight Watchers today, but I may have missed that. There was a time I was a little tuned out this afternoon. No, Stan, nothing on the oil since we've sold off here. We'll go over that in a minute. I think EEM's had a bunch. Actually, no, only around each retail stocks. We've really only seen puts around earnings, but not afterwards. In fact, Macy's has seen call buying on it since earnings, even though it's not acting well. Dick's yesterday, DKS, which reported and sold off, they came screaming for it yesterday morning. No, um, even Target had some weekly call buying yesterday into tomorrow's expiration, which didn't do anything yet. I haven't seen it. No, CMG, I'm long it because I had massive buying yesterday. What did CMG have yesterday? Here it goes. Hang on, let me pull it up. So CMG yesterday, player came in. He sold to open the December 250 puts and financed that to buy the December 300 by 300 call spread times 1200. Massive buying into CMG yesterday in that gap as it comes into the gap. I trust me, if there was good put buying out there, I'd be putting it up for you guys. I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it, guys. I'm not seeing the big put money. All right, we're gonna go over Tesla. It's a great question. We'll come to that stock in a minute. So hold that thought because you're right. We do have that event. I thought it was 8 Eastern, but it might be 8 Pacific. So we might not hear about it until 11 o'clock because my news feed's not showing me anything yet. And I'm sure if it was 8 Eastern, it'd be going Pacific. Thank you, Deborah. There you go. So we're going to have to wait. All right. So let's go over this and we'll go into everything else. Service offering. So what do I offer, guys? I have two offerings. One, I have private exclusives, unusual option activity mentoring and daily recaps. Every day you get a daily recap, Monday through Friday, of the day's action, the overall market update, updating my positions, and basically what looks good to swing from here, what I like, what I don't like about the market, what I'm seeing in the market, what options I think are swingable. Every week we do on Thursday at 6 o'clock a live coaching session. We had ours today. It's usually anywhere from a half hour to longer, depending upon what the market's doing, what questions people have. And that's your chance to just interact with me on a one-on-one basis on every week. Ask any questions you have or go over things in detail. I've added a morning setups video delivered by 8:30 every morning. I post all the open interest on most of the names that we're trading that day, plus a lot of others. Of the top ideas and setups for the day, I try to usually come up with 3 to 10 setups. Sometimes it's only 4 or 5, depends on what the market's giving me, of setups I like the most going into that day that we should be watching for. If they trigger or they see the right setup, we should be going into it. And of course, the big thing is on my private Twitter feed, I give you guys real-time option flow, all the news that I comes across in my news feed as well. I have a private news feed that I pay for and subscribe to. I post there market updates and all my trades, entrances, exits, every time I trim or what I'm seeing. I'll post charts there throughout the day. It really just depends upon what's going on that day. So you get all of this every day. I do this for you guys. If you're interested, go to alphashark.com, best coaching. It's $49 for the first month, $99 for each additional month. After that, automatic renewal. If you guys can't make $49 when I'm giving you, there's something really, really wrong. Then you guys need to talk to me about what you're actually doing because you're not doing something right. You know, we go anywhere from catching long-term swings to just catching momentum on the day. You know, names like Facebook, Apple, AMD, NVIDIA, when they come for it over and over again, I'll catch that and we'll be in on that name because I'll be showing it to you real time as the option flow is coming in and saying, pay attention, wake up, this is it. Look, they're buying this, get in on this. This is where they're playing today. And we can see that in, you know, all the different names that are out there. So again, alphashark.com, best coaching, $49 the first month, renews at $99 a month. If you're looking for help in trading, I do offer mentoring. This is through myself, not through AlphaShark. This is at smartoptiontrading.com. I do option trading training, I do technical training, and I also do trade reviews. I've helped a lot of people who we spend an hour going over their trades, talking about what they're doing and how to adjust their trading if they're struggling or maybe just need somebody to take a look at what, you know, sometimes we all get out of sync with things. I mean, I get out of sync with the market as well, guys. So you have to look and say, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? And sometimes you just need somebody else to look at it. If this is something you're interested in, send me an email at mike@smartoptiontrading.com or send me a private message on Twitter at optionsmike. Be happy to help you out. We do anywhere from an hour session. I've done up to 4 hours over a course of multiple months for people, depending upon what they're looking. Really, it's just up to them and what they need. Okay, so those are my offerings. You guys have any questions, hit me up with those. In the meantime, it's on to your charts, guys, for the rest of the night. We got 30 minutes or so, so it's time to go through your charts. So, Isom, you, man, I love it. All right. Priceline. Man, did I nail Priceline 2 weeks ago? Yep. Okay. So, Priceline, for me, this is really, really easy right now. If it gets through the 8-day, you take the trade for a possible gap fill. And way I would play this Isom is I play with cheap ones, but buy time. So since it's trading at 1740, I don't just mean through it for the day. I want to close above it, right? Get something up around 1830, maybe even 1840 strike. Buy a month out in time. Get something cheap and play for a run towards the 200-day, with the idea that we probably won't get a complete gap fill, but maybe we can get half of it. And the reason I say that, this last gap, we didn't get all the way through. We got through almost half. So look for that type of move here and that. I wouldn't look for a complete gap fill. I'd look for a partial gap fill. If it can't get through the 8-day, I would look to short it and test it back down to see if we could put a higher low in, maybe around 1660 to 1680 on Priceline. Baba. Baba. Okay, Baba. Beautiful reversal off the 50-day. Hit it here, came off of it. This thing likes to come off the 50-day. Back above all the moving averages, you have a downtrend here. So if you can't see this clearly, let me draw it for you. Right there. You have a little bit of a downtrend you're coming into here on Alibaba, Pete. Watch to see if it breaks it. There's been some good call buying the last couple of days into that. See if it can get above there. If it does, I think once you get above that, your first stop here is this 180, 187.50, and then I think it tries to take back a run to the all-time highs on Alibaba. I like the chart. I like the setup now that it's getting back in the game here. What else did you ask for? HD. HD, beautiful earnings, right? The one thing I don't like about HD here, is there hasn't been call buying. In fact, yesterday, they closed a ton of calls in the name. So overall, the chart looks good. It looks constructive. Money is still flowing in. Look at the CMF indicator, right? That means that big money's still in. You have a MACD cross. Mostly, I think I like the chart. This is actually probably a good place to try a long on it here, because if it gets above this area, it's going to run. It's in blue sky country. It's going to have very little resistance. Anything on the 8-day right now, since it's showing the ability to hold the 8-day, is a buy to me. Let's go back to some of the ones that we didn't go over yet, so that I remember from back, and I'll come back and catch up. Tesla. Let's talk Tesla. So Tesla has an event tonight. I know Isom likes to trade Tesla. I like to trade Tesla. What is a little concerning to me is it could not get the gap fill ahead of this to the 320, which should have been an easy trade for it, but it couldn't do it. It got to the 21-day. It pulled back here. It's not looking bad. It's just not quite ready. This is a make or break event tonight. If this event's a home run, the shorts, I believe there's 21% short interest still in this name, are going to get killed. If it gets over the 200-day, this thing is going to scream, which is at 321, and every short in this name is going to be crying again. If the event is not as good as everybody hopes it to be, I would look for it to go back and retest the low. And I've said for a while, the measured move of this head and shoulder top is 280. So if it fails, I'd look for a quick move to 280, finish filling this gap, and then go from there. So that's my thoughts on Tesla. So Tesla, bad, look for 280, finish the gap. Good, it blasts above the 200-day and goes up to the 50-day and starts to squeeze really everybody. Yeah, I know he said it's going to be mind-blowing, but, that's propaganda, right? It's getting beat up because Chanos has been bashing the stock for the last 2 days as well. That's where stock chart shows it. ISIM, I take that with a big grain of salt. I prefer Thinkorswim. Stock charts doesn't adjust for dividends and other things that take place, and Thinkorswim does. I always go by Thinkorswim. But this is what I use to show charts up here because it's a better medium for it. Make sense? Tesla, Micron, we went over. Tesla, okay, on to the rest of our charts. I hate it when my questions go back. All right. HD, NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is just buying its time here, guys. I think this thing is just playing possum right now and consolidating and waiting to wake up. So earnings, you had weakness in the earnings, a nice big gap up here, all the way up, and now it's right back on the 8-day and just sitting here quietly, patiently. The only concern is money has been selling it a little bit, but we've seen this before and it comes ripping back in when it starts to go. If it can hold the 8-day tomorrow, I'd look to try some. We have an AM. You can ask about them. We'll take care of them. Walmart and Amazon. So I like it. I'm waiting to see call flow. No call flow really into it yet, AS. They haven't really come after it. Yeah, there was some buying in the weekly 215s, but nothing that would get me excited. By the way, NVIDIA tomorrow is one of the names they love to play suicides on. So you got to watch for that. SGMS, James. Wow, nice move. That's right. They had the news today with the Dutch news, right? They're doing the lottery system for them today. Yeah, big call buying in this name. Nice move. New all-time high here. The only thing to be aware of is this name doesn't move big like this very often. It's a very slow mover. I would be careful initiating up here. I would try to buy it off the 8-day. It's a better buy. So I would, if you like the name and you're not in it, I would buy it off the 8-day. If you're in it up here, I would just trail and stop, trim it a little bit, maybe put a stop in place, let it come up, let the 8-day play a little bit of catch up here. But a great move, and it has lots of call buying it. Fred, I don't know anything about corn. You're asking the wrong guy. I'm not a commodities trader. I can look at Colgate though for you. So if you see corn, I have no idea. Wow, a little sloppy. Long sideways consolidation. Back above all the moving averages here. There's been sporadic action in the options market, but nothing huge. I don't see an edge in this chart right now, to be honest with you, for me. For me, Fred, I need to see some kind of action to really want to get involved here. As long as it held the 200-day, I'd probably try to stay long versus the 200-day, which is the green line, which is right down here at the bottom of this wick from today. I would look to try to stay from that, but not a very compelling chart. That doesn't mean it can't work. It's just nothing. I don't know if there's any catalyst here at this point. Square, what a move. What a freaking move. So somebody else asked me about Square today in the Alpha Shark chat room, and I'm going to tell you guys perfectly honestly, you have to look where this thing came from 11 to 41 in a year. Call buying remains off the charts. I love it. I would not be initiating up, not with it this heated on RSI, not after this big of a move and extending off the moving averages. Let it pull back, see if it can hold the 8-day, and then try it there. That said, if you're long and you have time, trim and trail. Move your options, your stops up, stay with it, but don't let it get away from you. I think it's a buyout candidate. I think it's making a great case to be bought out from anybody that wants to get into this space. I like the chart. I love it. I think it's going higher long term. I'd be careful initiating up high this one. I'd like to see one of these August type pullbacks where we get a nice little corrective period and consolidation here after this big run. For me. Where do I see shop going? To the moon? Are we allowed to say that? CMFP. CMF is called Shotgun Money Fund. It measures institutional buying, the strength of the institutions coming in versus selling. So one of the things I love about it is sometimes you'll see it coming down when the stock's still going up, and that usually means institutions are dumping, but retailers are still buying, or you'll start seeing the stock The CMF going up when the stock's still coming down or sideways, that means institutions are buying it there at that level. I like it. It's a nice little indicator. It's free. There's nothing involved. It's in TOS. It's in stock charts. It's in most things. It's called CMF. Chalklin Fund Money Fund. All right, SHOP. Where do I see SHOP going? Good question. I don't track dark pools, unfortunately, James. There is somebody out there that does it. I've actually know him. I've looked at his stuff, and I'm not sure it works or not. I've never had any luck with it. Where do I see SHOP going? So we're above this area. Nice. Okay, that's a nice one. I love it when that comes together. So for SHOP, if it can clear this downtrend, I think you can get a nice move. First resistance would be this area. The 50-day does not look like it's a big player for this name, so I'd say the first resistance would be this candle up here, which would put it around 10. If it can get through there, then I think you start moving up towards this 115 area. That would be my next 112.50 would be my next area. Place to place. What's interesting is I don't use the 150-day very often, but this stock likes the 150-day. Can you guys see that? So sometimes you have to look at different things. So you can be long versus the 150 here. I like that. It looks like it's support for it. Text, Renato? There's been a lot of buying in that name lately, but nothing special. Nothing that has gotten me extremely excited. A lot of the call buying, it hasn't really worked on it. I know it's a buyout candidate. I haven't traded it. I don't have a strong, warm, fuzzy feeling on this name here. I expect tomorrow it's just going to continue doing what it's going to do and just go there. It's not on my list here at this moment. Boeing, love Boeing. Come on, there we go. All right, so Boeing had this huge move, then this massive earnings, right, and then just ripped higher. It's had earnings again, and it's kind of quiet right now, consolidating. Lots of good news, lots of big orders coming in. The way you have to play Boeing here at this point, CMF is going down. That's a concern, right? See how it's selling off here? See the money's leaving? And look at the stock. The stock's staying elevated here. That means that big institutions are dumping while you're still buying. They're using you guys to hold it up. So if it clears this area with volume, I would look to try to go long it, roughly, this area, and see if money comes back into it. Right now, the 21-day is acting as support. So you can go long versus the 21-day. Any dip to the 21-day, I would try to buy it there. Avgo. There was call buying in Avgo today, but it was already up $5 and I didn't take it. So yeah, it was up $5 when the call buyer came screaming in today. See if I can find it. Hang on a second. Tell it to you guys. Come on. Here it is. December 1st. Hang on, pull it up for you. December 1st, 275 calls. Swept 200K. There you go. So you can see the action I've caught in Avgo the last couple of days. There's Avgo for you. And I didn't take it. The chart looks great now. You saw Nets had a huge move today. I suspect that this chart, nice forming a chart. You ever hear of a J hook? Looks like a J, right? Looks like it's trying to form a J, which would bring it higher, propel it higher. It made room on RSI after getting a little bit overbought here. Off the 8-day, nice move. I suspect this one is going to try to go higher if it can clear 275. SYMC. Gotta tell you, I do not love this chart. You're knife fishing. You're feeling from a knife. Did not hit the bottom here. For me, it's got to get above the 8-day. Since it lost it up here, it hasn't been able to retake it. It's oversold, so it got an oversold bounce today. It has to clear the 8-day, and then next, if it clears the 8-day, I might try to take it to the 21-day, but one step at a time. Thanks, Don. I'll take a look at that. I wasn't aware of him. I think it's HF, somebody out there for Fractals. I know who he is. I've used his service once before. I didn't love it on the that. Amazon, love me some Amazon. So I did not trade Amazon this week, although it gave lots of opportunities. This dip to the 8-day should have been bought. This thing looks poised to go. This is a beautiful chart. Beautiful charts rarely give you a great entrance. So you have this pro gap and go on earnings day, put in a high, gave a nice little dip sell off, and re-engulfed it to a new high. Now it's consolidating this move and it's holding the 8-day. Love this chart. I think it goes higher. There's been weekly call spreads being bought on it every week now for the last 3 weeks. Love Amazon. Think it goes higher. If the markets don't sell, I think this one's going a lot higher. They're piling into this name. It's also a seasonally strong time of season for Amazon. And you brought up Walmart, which had earnings today, and Walmart had a day of days. I don't even have to look at the chart to know it had a day of days. Hope if I type it right. All right, you never see moves in Walmart like this. An ungodly move. They've been buying calls on this thing nonstop for the last month and a half since that can hear. That said, and I think it is really the only competitor at this point to Amazon, really in that in the marketplace. I wouldn't be buying it up here, but if it cooled off a little bit and came in and held this gap, I'd take a shot at it there. Like it. CC? No, I haven't done it, but I'll do that for you before we time out here, Don. Suicides are when they buy, Deborah, suicides for me, or I call them suicides, when they buy a stock for that day's expiration, when they buy options for that day's expiration, I call them suicides because they're all or nothing. They're usually cheap plays. I see them on NVIDIA a lot, or Tesla, or Netflix a lot. You see them on, lots of names like this. They'll come out and they'll say, they'll buy them. Isom's been around me. He's seen me call them out a bunch of times. I'm say, watch for these. And Tesla, they love to do it. They'll come screaming in for it. They'll buy them. They'll pay like 60 cents or something like that. And you go in, you put a stop at half that. So I'm willing to lose half that price. And then as soon as it starts going up and it loses momentum, you sell it and you get out. So these things have a history. These things often will double, even triple quickly, easily. But they're risk. They're high risk. They're an all or nothing type trade. All right. Micron Tesla, where are we at? I just lost it. My screen just scrolled on me. Sorry about that. Microsoft. Microsoft has been unreal. We had a dividend day that got bought back. The gap down on dividend from yesterday got bought right back, consolidating this huge move. Microsoft does not like to be overbought. It's burning it off. Overall, I think this one goes higher as long as we hold this gap. So if you want to be long, you want to be long Microsoft versus here. So let's call it 182.50 area, right? If it holds this gap, I think Microsoft is good. And if you want to get long, if it touches that, that'd be a great place to try it. Jerry, XBI, all the biotech names started waking up yesterday and again today. I know the IBB reclaimed the 8-day today. It was the first sector to sell, and it was also the first one to start bouncing yesterday. XBI is a little bit weaker, but it's right to the 8-day and held off here. There's been no real call buying. Nice double bottom on RSI here and bouncing off of it. I like the sector for a bounce here at this point. I just want to see more come into it, and we haven't seen that yet. So I like it, but I'm a little cautious here at the 8-day. It's got to break through it. A lot of names like Bib and Celgene have been trapped. Celgene, let's just go into it while we're here. Then I'll come back to Pawn. Celgene, I've been trying to play to get this gap fill, and every time it hit the 8-day was resistance, and today it exploded above it. It's at the top here. This should be on everybody's watch list at this point. No call buying, but it's at that gap. A move to the 21 day at 108 is a very reasonable play if it gets into that gap, and that should go quick. So I like Celgene there at this point. Palo Alto Networks, big call buying, right? You know that. I already told you that. Palo Alto today had big call buying, a big block of December, what? Dun, dun, dun. Jan 160 calls today, 847,000 of them. Yesterday with the December 150 calls, they came in a couple times into those. So you can see the type of flow. I'm picking it up on there. You bought them. Yep, 150s. The only thing standing here with Palo Alto Networks, it has earnings next week, right? Beginning of the week, it has earnings. These guys have a history of not being right with earnings on this name and option flow. They're usually very bad with it. The other thing I don't like, it had great earnings last time and it sold it. It filled most of this gap. It couldn't hold it. It should have been able to go and it can't. If earnings are good, I suspect it comes back up to the 150 area. I suspect you don't get the expected move you need to make money, ISOM. It has a history of disappointing. I'd be very careful with this name. If you're going to play it for earnings, play small. Don't have a big position on it. That'd be my advice on that one. I know what you're saying. I love the space too, but it just can't get going. And look at FireEye. And I'll bring this up just because look at FireEye. Had great earnings, gave great guidance, and they sold the hell out of it. And now it's below the 200-day, and it's lost the 200-day there. Overall, for whatever reason, they don't really want the security space right now, and that's just keeps me careful. All right, Amgen. That's how I feel about it. I don't love it. You know, I was in FireEye and Pawn multiple times. Amgen, kind of like the rest of biotech, finally reclaimed the 200-day, the 8-day. This thing's been sold off pretty good from the highs of almost 190 here, right at 190. So this thing could move if it wants to go, but it's going to need the whole sector to go. The thing about biotechs, the only thing I'm going to say to you is you got to remember there's always got to look for news out there. I don't know what their pipelines look like. I don't know when they have drug news coming. Always be aware of those all the time, right? Always have to look at those. BX. Not Amgen BX. How about just BX? Come on, stock charts. All right. Wow, Blackstone got kicked. I like Blackstone. Usually they move when the financials are strong. This is a beautiful candle here. What I love about this candle is it reversed. It got below the 200-day. They came with power and they bought it back and they've already moved it up. If it can get above the 8-day, I would take a shot on it here. See how it handles the 8-day here. 8-day is going to be important for it. It's been below it now since it broke it. It's been resistance. You can see they've been selling it on the 8-day. See how it handles that area. JD, I don't have any good news for JD. This name frustrates the living you-know-what out of me. Every time it looks good, it sells. Every time it looks bad, it comes back. It's holding the 200-day. So buying off the 200-day seems to work. But when it looks good and it gets up here, it just tends to sell off. I don't know. All the big call buying that had been coming into it has dried up now. It's gone. Earnings were great, and they sold it off on earnings, and even the call buying that came in, they got wiped out, and they took most of it off. I don't have a good warm fuzzy stand on JD at this point. BP, I don't like the sector right now, to be honest with you. Stanley, it should not have sold off like this. The whole energy space should not be selling off after that beautiful move. Let's just bring that up real quick. You know, you got to move this candle. This candle should have held. And they sold it off and went all the way back down here again. So when I look at that, and then when I look at this, it's in nowhere's land. It doesn't make me want to get involved with it here. I don't want to be in it. If I was long, I'd be looking. I would have been out of it by now, or I'd be out trying to find a way out. I would guess the 50-day, which is also lining up with the bottom of this channel here, this little sideways action. So somewhere around 38 or so, 38.50, 38.25. maybe you can try it off of that, see if they want to reverse off of that. Qualcomm is purely a buyout play, guys. So there's tons of call buying in Qualcomm. It's just nonstop. If you think Broadcom's going to buy them, Avgo's going to buy them, then take some options and get some time behind it and stay with it. They rejected an offer for 70 a share. If this offer dies, this stock's going to come crashing down. Just be aware that this is a buyout play at this point. So there's no way that Qualcomm should have moved like it did. Plus, especially with it's about to lose all of its Apple business. So if it doesn't get this deal with Avgo, it's going to fall apart. All right, we'll do. It's time's up, but we'll do a couple more real quick. Google AS. Google woke up nicely today. I do have regrets. I didn't chase Google today. It's one of the names I should have chased. Held the 21-day, held the earnings gap, hasn't got into it, back above the 8-day. Watch this one tomorrow afternoon. Google has a history of moving on options expiration day after lunch. I've seen it do $20 moves in the afternoon after the monthly OPEX a couple times. May not be tomorrow, but just keep your eye on it. I like the setup here. It looks good. Running back to all-time highs at this point seems easy at this 1060 level, and then maybe it tries to play catch up with Amazon and get back into it. CC, Don, I promised you CC. Interesting chart. The 100-day held. It looks like a bear flag formation. The 8-day is serving as resistance here underneath that gap. As long as it holds that 100-day, I think you're okay here on this one. I think you could hold this one versus the 100-day here and see if it can go, but you got to give this one a little bit of space. I don't know what it's going to do. Money flow is not bad. Qualcomm puts out of the money. Yeah, if you want. If you think the deal is going to collapse, buy some deep way out of the money puts. So that wouldn't be a bad idea. I can't argue with that. I have no feel for what's going to happen there. I find it funny that a $110 billion company is going to buy out a $90 billion company. I just don't know where all that cash is going to come from or why they'd want to spend that kind of money when the company they're acquiring is about to lose all their Apple business, which is a large chunk of their business. But what do I know? Yeah, Deborah, Lulu. Lulu, though, looks good. So this is the last one we'll do tonight since it's 9, and you brought it up. Lulu has changed character. I've traded Lulu really successfully the last couple months. So here's the change for me, and this is why I'm kind of looking at it going, it finally broke above this channel and held, and now it's holding the 8-day. See the change here? Every time it did this before, it would collapse back down. Look at this. 3 days in a row, it tagged the 8-day and held and has moved off of it. That's not a bad move. That's a nice looking chart. I know earnings are probably not that far off. It's also got some resistances right at 57, right? Nope, not even. It's right here. So you gotta be careful buying it here. It's gonna hit this candle, probably get stopped right there. That's probably why it's pausing here. But off the 8-day, I would give it a shot. So guys, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. I don't have any webinar scheduled for next week, so I'm going to take this time to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. And if you're not in this country, a very happy holiday season as you guys move forward. This market is still set up for a bull market. Unless we get some type of event, I like it. I like this market. I'm trying to stay long it. I'm trying to find different ways. The one thing I'm doing, if you've noticed, is I am trying to take longer term positions to avoid the daily chop. So I wish you all luck. Renato, drop me an email. I'll get you set up tomorrow. Everybody else, thank you very much. Fred, welcome. Thank you guys. Really enjoyed it. And I'll catch you all next time. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube. I do a lot of stuff for free there all the time and put that up. And I will always continue to do that. I love doing that for everybody. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night.